The full moon is standing in Leo, and it's the solar temple of the sun, and this feels perfect because this lunation is the feminine receiving a powerful light from source itself, not a harsh light, but a spiritual clarifying light, the kind that reveals what is true. This light illuminates the clothes and masks we've been wearing, our roles, coping strategies, identities we've stitched together from expectation, survival, and belonging. And the moon in her fullness requires a particular kind of honesty before we go into the waning and composting. She's asking us if we are standing naked in our own skins, our real instincts, our real voice, and our real desires, or are we standing in a garment that was stitched for us? Because Leo isn't asking for a performance with costumes and masks. Leo is asking for our radiance. And that radiance only comes from what is real. Hello, it's Karen here of Soul Symbols, Astrology and Tarot. And today I'm going to be looking at the tarot significations of the full moon. And it'll be a kind of different full moon podcast for us here. It's about the reclamation of feminine power. And even now the full moon is past, well past for us. I'm doing this podcast so that we can take the significations, the symbols of the tarot, but also the meaning of this full moon in Leo right through to the dark moon. And we can use it to reflect on. And if the podcast resonates with you, stirs something up in you, touches something deep within you, and you are ready to take the brave move of facing your truth, of what you're wearing, then I invite you to a sacred circle for women. It's online every second and fourth Tuesday of the month, where we can collect together, we can hold one another, we can share our stories and share from our hearts. It's a powerful place to be in a woman's circle. It's ancient practice, as ancient as Inanna and Persephone for sure. So if you want to come, the first one is on the 10th of February, and it's at 7:30 till 9 o'clock, and that's GMT for those of you who are elsewhere in the world. Nip along to www.soulsymbols.co.uk. There's lots of information on what the circle is, and you can book there, easy booking system there. It's full moon week, full moon in Leo, the illumination, and I've been looking at the tarot significations. Before I get to that tarot, I want to talk about the myth. I want you to hold it in a very particular way as a woman's reclamation of a feminine wisdom and power through the earth, through Gaia, through the living, breathing intelligence of the earth, not power as a performance or as having it all together, but power is what remains when everything else false has been stripped away. If it's helpful, place one hand on your heart and one hand low on your belly. Let your body be the altar. Let the earth be the witness. There's an image that's been coming through strongly to me, and it's a woman realizing that the skin that she's been wearing is not her own, not her instincts nor her pace, and it isn't her voice or her desires. This is a garment, this skin is a garment that's been stitched out of expectation, survival, roles, conditioning, and that rhetoric of this is what a woman should be. It's a costume that might once have protected her, but is now suffocating her. The real heartbreak is we can get so used to that garment that we forget it isn't us. We call it being good, being safe, being palatable, being chosen, being in control. We call it meaning. But the soul doesn't evolve through a costume. The soul evolves through truth. Our descent begins when we see this is a costume we're wearing. And this is where the mythic layer matters, because women have always deeply known this pattern, even if they're somewhat unconscious of it. The descent is not a mistake, it's an initiation. Think of Persephone, think of Inanna, a breakdown that is also a breakthrough, and it's a surrender that is a return to feminine power. Before we touch the tarot, I want to name the guide I'm most interested in today, Gaia, not as a concept, as a living, breathing intelligence. And she doesn't rush you, nor does she demand that you heal faster. She certainly doesn't shame you for being messy or tender, furious or uncertain. The earth teaches through seasons, through composting, pressure, and over time and cycles. Once we grasp that simple truth that we're wearing a garment that somebody else has stitched, we can begin the process of rooting ourselves in the earth of our souls, our true inner narratives. So not that story that you've inherited or the story that we've learned to put our masks on and perform. It's a story that's yours because it feels like breath in the body. So as we move through the tarot correspondence of this full moon in Leo, hold this as the spine of this podcast. The descent strips you down to truth, and the earth grows that truth into something steady. And Leo is the fire in the heart, brings it back into the light. So we're going to begin in the dark with the High Priestess, the moon's major arcana signature. And in this story, she's the underworld guide as we go down into the darkness. And I don't see the underworld as something that's hideous, the hell of the Christian Bible. I see it as the womb of the earth, the place where seeds crack open, where identities die so essence can be born. The High Priestess is not interested in your mask. She is interested in your knowing. And this is the part of the journey where a woman meets the reality that the regalia that she thought she needed, those roles and titles, the performance and that I'm fine smile and the hyper competence, that emotional labour and the constant translating of herself into something safer is heavy. And it's certainly not holy if it costs you your soul. In Inanna's descent, she passes through the gates and surrenders an item at each one. She has a stripping of status, of her adornment and of protection. That myth is so precise. Initiation is not accumulation, it's subtraction. So if you're in a season where things have been falling away, where your old coping strategies don't work, where you can't pretend anymore, that's not failure. That's the High Priestess doing her work. And I want to bring in Rainer Maria Rilke here because he wrote a poem and it captures the feeling of this descent so perfectly. But I'm going to hold it gently here and only touch one line of it because it's enough to open a doorway into our soul. And that is, everything close to my face is stone. And that's the underworld feeling. That's the claustrophobia of transformation. The sense that you're so far in, you can't see your way through. And yet this is where the High Priestess, the moon, is whispering, stay. Not because you deserve suffering in any way, but because something true is trying to be born. Here are a few High Priestess questions you can sit with under this full moon. Have I outgrown what I'm still wearing? What part of my life is stone right now? What is dense, unmovable, pressurized? And what is gestating in the dark that I've been trying to force into daylight too soon? Now we have strength, the major arcana for Leo, and I want to frame this very clearly. Strength isn't a performance of confidence. Strength is reclamation of heart power after a woman has been stripped of what is false. Strength is what happens when you stop negotiating with your own truth. So in the classic imagery, she's close to the lion, not dominating it, not killing it or denying it, but meeting it. And that lion can be your desire or your anger, grief, or your erotic life force, your creative fire. It can be your protective instinct, or your no, your enough, your wildness. And Leo is fire, and fire is the south. It's where wildness lies. And so many of us are taught to fear that lion, to be good instead of true, to be confident, to be convenient instead of sovereign in our own power. Strength says, no, I can hold my instincts without being ruled by them, and I can use my tenderness without collapsing. I can hold my rage without turning it into cruelty, and I can hold my power without making myself smaller. And here's the Gaia piece again. Strength isn't just heart, it's our bodies, our breath, our nervous system learning safety inside truth. So for this full moon, strength becomes a reclamation practice. I don't need the borrowed skin. I don't need that mask, and I don't need the regalia that was built to win love by abandoning myself. I need my real body, my real pace, my real yes, my real no. And if you want to speak this aloud, which is powerful, in a ritual form, try, I return to myself without apology, or I belong to the earth and to my own truth, or you can declare, I do not barter my soul for approval. Now, we'll bring in the wheel of fortune. It's the moon in Jupiter's decan. And I love this here because Jupiter isn't only luck, Jupiter is meaning, Jupiter is the benevolent pattern. And it's the moment the story starts to make sense. The wheel is also that spinning wheel, the three fates, the Moiras spinning our destiny, our fate together. After the underworld, there is often a strange grace, a door that opens, a conversation lands, and a synchronistic yes arrives. It may be a teacher appearing, a piece of insight that clicks into place. And that's not because you earned it by suffering, but because you stayed long enough in the process for the compost to become fertile. And the wheel is the sense that the cosmos is moving with you, bringing you into your destiny. But I want to say something important here. Jupiter's blessing doesn't always look like instant ease. Sometimes it brings a new perspective. Sometimes it looks like protection through redirection. And sometimes it looks like the courage to finally choose what's true. So under this full moon, the wheel is asking, where has life been trying to turn me towards myself? It's also asking, where have I been resisting the blessing because it requires a new identity, a new truth? What meaning is forming out of what I only thought was lost? Now, one of the central images in the tarot is the Six of Wands. This is the second decan, the minor arcana for the second decan of Leo. It's often described as victory, and it has that sense of the hero returning with the elixir. But this is where Leo becomes public facing, not necessarily famous, but visible. We've named our truth. We've owned our identity. This is what I want to emphasize. The Six of Wands in this feminine reclamation lens is not about ego gratification. It's about rightful recognition. And there's a difference. The ego says, see me so I can feel real. The soul says, I will be seen because I'm real. This card is the moment when what you've earned internally becomes legible externally. It's when your boundaries hold, when your voice doesn't shake in the same way when you no longer abandon yourself to keep the peace. So it's a picture of the return of the hero with the elixir, but I see it as the emergence of the feminine from the belly of Gaia. And here's the key. It's not just to receive applause, but to bring something back into the world. From your time of going through transformation, you are bringing back medicine, story, method, a way through. So you can ask this full moon about what you've learned in the dark that can now serve your life. What is the truth that you're ready to carry openly, and what part of you is ready to stop hiding? So this is victory as embodiment. It's the light earned through descent. And finally, we have the world. This is the moon in Saturn's terms, the Egyptian terms in the astrology. But I think it's the card that makes the whole story mature. Because Saturn then asks us, we can go down into that underworld. We can go into the womb of the earth, the dark goddess. We can return with Jupiter's blessings, with the turn of the wheel of fate. But if we don't live it, it's just elixir that stays within our souls. So Saturn is really asking you in this world card, can you live it? Not can you have an epiphany or a beautiful healing moment. Saturn is saying, can you integrate that transformation into the architecture of your life? And this is where I want you to return to your image of skin. If the borrowed skin was a forced garment stitched from expectation, then Saturn offers something different, true skin, real boundaries, real structure, and a life that fits you. The world is completion, yes, but it's also a containment, the vessel that holds the elixir, the transformation, the change that's been wrought inside us, often painfully. And it holds it so that it doesn't evaporate. So this is the final invitation of the full moon in Leo. Choose one way to make that reclamation real. Look at a boundary you can keep, a practice you'll commit to, a conversation that you can finally have, a piece of work that you'll finally share, a no that protects your life force, and a yes that is honouring what you desire in your life. And I just want to close this like a blessing for us all. May the High Priestess teach us how to trust the dark. May strength return to us, the authority of our hearts. May the wheel restore meaning and right timing, and the Six of Wands crown what we've earned through truth. And may the world give you a life that fits your soul. That's the medicine of this full moon in Leo. It's not a mask, not a performance. It's a reclamation.